Hey guys, Aidan here. I'm extremely excited to what we're going to discuss today because I'm here with one of my good friends, Ezra Firestone. We're in his recording studio in his apartment in Brooklyn, New York, and we're going to be talking to him about all kinds of things. Now, just to give you some background about Ezra, he has been extremely successful online. He's involved in all kinds of things. He's been the feature of Internet Marketing Magazine. He's been the feature of Digital Marketing Monthly. He's been a guest speaker all over the world: Sydney, Hawaii, San Francisco, Texas, New York. The list goes on and on and on. And he has, of course, had his own events as well. So when you're looking at people that you can really follow and learn from, Ezra, in my opinion, is someone that I've learned a massive amount from. So definitely check out his websites. The links are going to be just below this video. Go and check them out. And Ezra, thanks so much for making the time.
Yeah, man, I feel really good about myself now.
That's the idea, right?
It's a good intro. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for taking some time to hang out with us.
A couple of your websites are thinkactget.com and smartmarketer.com. You can definitely go and check them out. There's lots of good stuff on there, and you've got weekly content that comes out on those as well.
Think Act Get is what you think determines how you act, which results in what you get. It's a mindset and lifestyle podcast. So if you're into mindset and willpower and things like that, check out Think Act Get. And SmartMarketer is more technical and tactical and marketing information.
And of course, you've got your Facebook pages.
That's right.
As well.
Facebook.com/.
You're going to get all those links. You're going to get all those links just below the video. So I want to just dive straight into the good stuff now, Ezra. What drives you in internet marketing? You've had obviously prolific success online with e-commerce stores and lots of other projects. But what is it that gets you up in the morning and just drives you? What makes you want to do it?
Well, I think that for all of us, when I started in internet marketing, it was the desire for freedom of time and location. I was working 60 hours a week as a manager of a yoga studio, and before that I was playing poker for a living, and I didn't get to spend my time where I chose. And I was just getting serious with my wife, who's filming this, by the way, hi.
Yeah.
And I wanted to spend more time with her. So really what drove me initially was that desire for more freedom in my life. And I think that's the initial driver for a lot of entrepreneurs. They, in one way or another, want some kind of more freedom in their life in some way or another. And now I have a greater goal in that we have a nonprofit charity, and I've got a lot of people I want to take care of, and I've sort of figured out this game of how to make money, and I've gotten pretty good at it. And so I have this ability that a lot of people are trying to acquire, right? The ability to generate wealth. And so now I want to take care of people, and my life is set up. I'm very happy.
I think the thing you mentioned, that the freedom and the flexibility, that's what so many people that I know start internet marketing, and that's exactly why I started as well. So I think a lot of people are going to be able to
and you can
resonate
achieve
with
that. That is a very achievable and attainable goal. Like that's
Absolutely.
A good goal to have, and following Aidan is a good way to start.
Thanks.
So Aidan was also, I did a training course, and I brought him in as a guest expert, so I have a lot of respect for you as well.
Cool. Thanks. What has been some of the keys to your success online?
I see this a lot as now that I'm in the role of training other entrepreneurs and marketers in our community. It used to be that I was just a guy who did e-commerce, and this last year I've transitioned into this role of someone who shares their research and shares their information. And one of the things that I see consistently is that people are very focused on tactics. They want to know what the tactic is going to be, but they're not looking from a higher level.
The magic tactic.
Right, but you've got to have, so tactics don't equal success. What equals success is strategy plus tactics plus mindset. So strategy is like knowing where you want to go. Like, hey, I would like to build an e-commerce store that sells 10 products a month. So you know what you want to do. So you have a strategy.
You know what finished
for that.
Looks like.
Yeah, you know what the end game is, and then you have your tactics, and you've got to have the right mindset. Like people come to me and they say, hey, I want to build an online business, and the first books that I give them have nothing to do with tactics and strategy. They're all mindset. They're all getting people to the frame of mind that believing that they can, changing their viewpoints around money, because in our society we're taught that money is hard to come by, and that it should be a struggle, and we don't have...
You have to think in abundance.
Yeah, and so mindset is the first place that I start with people, and then I give them strategy, and then tactics. Tactics is the last thing, and tactics is where most people start.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you got started online, what was it like for you? I mean, you obviously had to go through some learning curve, and I know for me, it was like I struggled 2 years failing over and over again, but did you fail at first? How was it for you?
I got very lucky. The first venture that I started, I actually did it to impress Carrie, who's filming this video. I told her all about it.
It worked.
Yeah, it did. I don't know if that was what did it, but it was one of the things. And I got really lucky, man. I hit it out of the park with the first e-commerce store I did. I ended up selling it for 6 figures just a couple years ago. Yeah. But I failed many times after that, and I continue to have failures. And you will experience some level of failure. But one thing that I did that I don't see a lot of other people do is I was willing to learn from everyone. Anyone who had some level of information that could help me, I was willing to learn that. I put in my 10,000 hours. I went through every course I could find on traffic, on conversion, on landing page psychology, on e-commerce. I tested with my own money. I spent time after work, because I built a moonlight business. 2 hours a night after I got home from work, I would work on my business.
And when you were doing this, were you always focused on e-commerce, or were you kind of going off on different tangents? Because one thing I see is a lot of people are like, well, I want to do e-commerce, but I want to do affiliate marketing, but I want to start my own local marketing business. Like, what was that like for you?
I started with e-commerce, and in month 1, I'd had a sale.
Yeah,
which was incredible. And I was like, okay, this, and I really, works. and since then, right, since that first store, I've made the mistake of doing multiple things at once and being like a shotgun and not really being able to get anything done because I'm going in a million directions. So I have made that mistake. I didn't make it to start, but I did make it after I started. And Carrie's been really helpful with that. She keeps me on track.
Yeah, stay focused. So we spoke a little bit about why other people fail, focusing on tactics as opposed to the big game plan.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Okay. Emotionally attached. It's easy to get emotionally attached to what you're doing and not want to acknowledge when it's not working. And I had this happen. We almost went bankrupt over this because I had this business that I was building a few years ago, and I got so emotionally attached to it because I had put so much into it that I wasn't willing to see that it wasn't working. And it got to the point where we had very little money in the bank when Carrie was finally like, dude, this thing is not working. And
you don't keep kicking a dead horse.
Exactly. Right? And that's a very easy mistake to make, and it's one that gets a lot of people.
You've got to know when is the point to move on.
Yeah.
I've heard people say if you're going to fail, fail fast.
Yeah. So just be willing to be willing to recognize when something isn't working out, and maybe that's when you've invested X amount of money or X amount of time and you haven't seen the result you're looking or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, because there's also the other side of it where
there's
you have
the other
to persevere.
Extreme where if you don't persevere enough.
That's right. So it's
especially with search engine optimization and that side of things.
It's easier to see when a paid advertising campaign isn't working, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of tell that a little quicker because you're getting direct response, you're getting direct actions.
Yeah.
SEO, you've got to persevere a little.
But with SEO, you should still be able to notice if you're tracking your traffic. You should still be able to notice if you're getting 200, 300 visitors to your site, not necessarily in one day. But if you're getting all that traffic to your site and you're not making a conversion, then something somewhere isn't functioning properly,
Absolutely.
and you have to address that. Or maybe the traffic's just wrong, but something,
Which is something that people come to me and say, hey, my website's not converting. And I look at where their traffic is coming from, and it's not targeted, it's not relevant, it has nothing to do with the offers they have. So
obviously it's not going to work, right? So, okay, great. Now the next thing I wanted to talk about is, I know you're managing so many different projects. How do you do it? Do you set goals? Are you a goal-orientated person?
Ideally, and this doesn't always work out this way, but ideally the way I do it is I take a process and I'm like, okay, this is the thing that I want to get done. And I believe that in order to train someone how to do something, or to hire someone, or to outsource it, you need some level of understanding of that thing, right? It's hard to outsource something that you don't really understand because you don't know whether or not they're doing a good job. So what I like to do is have some level of understanding of the thing I'm trying to accomplish, and then I do the I do it, we do it, you do it model. So first I do it, right? I do this thing and I document it. I document everything that I've done. And then I take the person who's going to help me with it, and we do it together. So I give them my I do a screen capture and I do a text file, and I sit down with them and I say, this is how we do it. And then I have them do it on their own and show me the results. And that way I'm able to...
That's great. I hadn't actually heard of that. I do it, we do it, you do it. But that's for outsourcing, I mean...
Yeah, it's a good way to...
It's a masterstroke. It's simple, but...
Well, it's easy to offload tasks that way, because a lot of what you're doing in your business is redundant tasks, right? You're uploading a video to YouTube every week. You're adding new products to your store. I learned that from Shramko. You know Shramko?
I don't know.
He's you guys know. He runs a blog, and he's a very smart marketer.
Okay.
He's good at building teams.
Cool. And what about to-do lists? Do you have a basic weekly
Yes.
to-do list where you're like, okay, I'm going to nail the most difficult one in the morning, or I don't know. How's that work?
I use Evernote, and I use
Yep.
Mavenlink. So Mavenlink.com is the project management system that I use, and I use Evernote. So I do it based on a project. So
Yep.
this is a project. Here's everything that we have to do in this project. And then I set up a project for it in Mavenlink, right? Mavenlink allows you to set up projects for tasks,
Yep.
and then assign people to different tasks. So I add my people who are going to help me with that project, my employees, whatever, and I say, okay, this task is for you, this task is for me, and we just go down the list.
Okay.
And I've only recently been this organized. Like this is a very new thing, but
Yeah.
I'm significantly more effective. It used to just be that I had like text files on my computer and like
Yeah.
this, you know.
Well, I personally have tried pretty much everything under the sun to organize myself, and you know the magic thing that I'm using right now? Just a notepad, a pen and paper, and it
Old
works.
school,
It works
man.
wonders. It's
Yeah.
old school, but
But-
I tell you what, it works wonders,
Well,
and it's been the most simple thing for me because I just cross it off the
Yes.
list
Yes.
and move down.
A simple text file.
And also, if you spend 5, maybe 10 minutes at the start of the day, the first thing you do is plan out the most important tasks. I know for me personally, I like to hit home on the most difficult, hardest task first, because that's the one that I'm going to be daunting later in the afternoon. And that was my next question for you, is can you recommend a couple of
Well,
books?
it's funny that you mentioned this. This is a book called Willpower. And they talk about how you only have a certain amount of willpower every day, right? And in the morning, it's strongest. And if you're going to achieve something, if you're going to accomplish something, you should do it early in the day before you run out of that sort of energy that helps you get through it. So Willpower is a really good book. Another book that I like is Instant Influence. You can't really see it. It's a
I'm
black
going to put
book.
the links. I'm going to put
Yeah.
the links to these below the videos.
Instant Influence is a methodology that they use in hospitals and drug clinics to get people off of drugs and to get people to take their medicine. It's a way of persuading people to do the things you want them to do. It's very, very effective for sales copy and just understanding
Yeah.
persuasion and influence.
And which
then
comes in handy for pretty much every single web project, right?
any kind of business, you know what every business comes back to is communication. Being able to communicate the value of what you have to offer to someone who's interested in that thing. It doesn't matter if you're selling services, if you're selling physical products, if you're selling, if you're doing affiliate marketing. It all comes down to being able to communicate value to someone else. And understanding persuasion psychology is a really good way to start. Next one is start with why. And I know you talk a lot about this, but it's basically starting with what are you doing all of this for in the first place? The first question you asked me, why are you doing this? Why not just have a secure job somewhere down at Safeway, checking bags, or why not just have, what is your goal with all this? Why are you doing this? What is driving you? And for me, it's I want to spend more, look at her. She's amazing. I want to spend time with her, and I want to have freedom to, go to yoga class and do whatever I want to do.
I think that's something, and it's a good way to finish up, is that you should identify really what's driving you inside you, and it's not to get to $5,000 a month. It's something else. It's probably the freedom that comes with that.
Money has no intrinsic value. Your $5,000 doesn't mean anything. You're going to use that $5,000
to do something.
You're going to trade that $5,000 for something that you consider valuable.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's rent on an apartment. Who knows what it is? But the last thing can I say one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
Mindset. So when we talk about communication and relationships, and I believe that all of marketing and all of business success comes back to communication and relationships. And it's important to understand what people actually want. And what people want from you is your attention. They want to be noticed. They want you to notice who they are. And you can try this in your life. You can be communicating with someone, and you can stop, take your attention off yourself, put it on them, notice something about them, and see how that changes the interaction. If you're able to actually it's hard to take our attention. I mean, we all think that we're the coolest things out there, right? We do. We think we're the best thing there is, and it's hard to take our attentions off of ourselves. But if you do this in your marketing will be much more effective, because you'll have taken the time to really think about what is it that this customer base that you're talking to is interested in. Let's say that you're selling baby clothing. Well, you're not just selling baby clothing. You're talking to mothers. What's important to mothers? That kind of thought process will really help you.
That's fantastic. Well, Ezra, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. It's been great to get here with you in your studio and ask you these questions. I know it's going to be extremely useful for everyone watching. So check out the links below and just check out what Ezra's doing. He's doing all kinds of interesting stuff. So thanks again, Ezra, and thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much.